guys, it's Andy from NismoTechUK. In partnership with Scan Computers UK, we are giving an unboxing and overview for the Cooler Master Test Bench version 1.0. Okay, so just before we get started, a massive thank you to Scan for sending the Cooler Master Test Bench V1.0 out for this unboxing and overview. As you can see by the actual box itself, quite a small design. On here we have got a graphic of the actual test bench. Apart from that, we've just got a little bit of information. The open structure of the case is designed to maximise airflow and cooling. It is a small test platform with a high level of flexibility. Supports 5¼ inch, 3½ inch and 2½ inch drives, ATX PSUs, standard ATX, mini ITX, micro ATX, and a couple of other motherboards on there as well. So that's about it for the actual box. Let's cut this open and have a look at the inside. Okay, so we've now got the Cooler Master Test Bench out of the box itself. As you can see, we've got this nice soft polystyrene around the outside here to keep it nice and protected. We've also got a bag of accessories for like motherboard standoffs, various different screws, etc. So what we're going to do is just going to pop these down to one side and take a closer look at the actual test bench itself. It's extremely lightweight indeed. So I'll just remove the actual plastic bag here and pop that down there. And that is the actual case itself. Obviously we've got the Cooler Master Lab across the actual top here with the Cooler Master logo. Obviously your motherboard will sit on top here. So what we'll do, we'll just bring you in for a closer look now. Okay, so we're just going to take a quick look around the actual case itself. We have got a power button and also a reset button on the top here, going to very long, generous cables onto your motherboard. Cooler Master logo along the front of that as well. Turning this around to the side, we have got the Cooler Master Lab branding on that side, as well as a sort of ventilation type hole there. Moving on to the back, you can see where the actual PSU is going to actually go. Down at the bottom here, we've got 3 screw holes to mount the PSU facing backwards as such. So obviously your power cable will go in at the front here, and obviously your power cables that come from the back of the actual PSU, SATA cables, graphics card, etc. A 24-pin will come out through the actual back of the case and around. Also on this side here, you'll find room here for a mechanical drive or an SSD to enable you to actually screw that into place. And then on this side again, you have got mounting options for optical drives and storage drives as well. And then on the inside here, you've also got a couple of rails which will enable you to go and install any optical drives, as well as obviously put your SSDs or mechanical drives into that sort of area there. Moving on to the bottom, you can obviously access those grooves as well. We've also got 4 rubber tips throughout the actual case itself to obviously raise it off the actual floor or off your desk to enable better airflow. And if you look on that side there, you can see obviously the ventilation holes for your PSU. So what we're going to do now, just to demonstrate it a little bit better, we're going to go and install some hardware into this test bench, and we'll be back to you in a moment. Okay, so here it is guys, I've now got some hardware installed into the Cooler Master Test Bench. Just wanted to give you a bit of a look around and sort of show you what it actually looks like when it's completely filled up. So we've got a power supply down in at the bottom here, that's secured and screwed into place. Really that's the only way, or the only location it can actually go. However, you can have it pointing out the other way if you wish. Got a CD-ROM drive installed, and we've also got a hard drive installed down there. One thing that I would recommend, because of the way that I've got the motherboard orientated, and also the way that the cables are actually fed through the actual hole that's on here, is to install, if you do need to install a CD-ROM drive, to install that last, because the sort of feeding the cables up through this particular small gap is a little bit tricky. So I actually installed the mechanical drive and the SSD that's towards the back before I installed the CD-ROM drive, and obviously the cables, as you can see, are there. So obviously that's that. Obviously you can put the hard drive further back if you wish and turn things around. looking up onto the actual motherboard itself, as you can see, obviously we've got the Cooler Master V8 GTS on here, Game Board graphics card, MSI motherboard, etc. So there isn't really sort of a great deal going on this side, but you can see obviously the risers to actually support the motherboard. One thing I was a little bit sort of concerned about when I was actually putting it on, obviously these are sort of quite movable, a little bit flexible. As you can see, there's hopefully you see that there's quite a bit of movement in the actual motherboard itself. In particular, when installing the graphics card onto the motherboard, I did find myself sort of sticking my hands underneath just to give it a little bit of extra support when you were pushing it down. And again, obviously with the RAM modules that we've got on here, I just wanted to give it a little bit of extra support when pushing it down, and it's something that I probably actually recommend to actually do. So I'm just going to turn this around and we can actually have a look at the back. So onto the back, you can see we've got an SSD mounted down here. Another thing to point out is obviously with this, you've got to screw it in from underneath. So again, it might be worth doing that before you stick your motherboard on top, just to make it that little bit easier. And you see the back of the actual power supply there, which makes it very, very easy actually, just to pull and unplug modular cables from the back. So it's really quite an impressive test bench. Obviously, as you can see, we've got a micro motherboard on top. Obviously it's capable of fitting a larger one, but it's very, very impressive indeed. I love the fact that it's modular. You can move obviously the devices around quite easily, moving and sliding them back and forth. The only thing, as I said, that's probably a little bit tricky is working out what order you need to actually install everything in, because obviously, you know, putting the hard drives in first rather than the CD-ROM drive, feed the cables through, anything that needs to be mounted from underneath the actual case, do that before you actually put the motherboard on top. The only other bugbear, this screw down here is a little bit tricky to get to when you're screwing it in with a screwdriver to hold the PSU in, just because of this sort of power bench, the power switch and that up at the top. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a demonstration. I'm just going to switch it on just so that you can have a look and, you know, so make sure that the power switch and everything works. So I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so I've now got a monitor, keyboard, etc. connected up, so I'm just going to go and hit the power switch, and you can see also the lights from the V8 GTS coming on board. Just going to go into the BIOS on this as well, and then I'm going to give you my personal thoughts. So there we go, that's now into the BIOS. So essentially my sort of first impressions and sort of overall thoughts about the actual Cooler Master test bench. It's a very, very easy and simple design, construction, and very easy to actually use when installing components. Like I've already said, the fact that you can install a couple of different drives in different locations just to make cable management a little bit easier for you to operate is really good. Obviously the fact that everything is down below, I really like. The switch on the front is actually quite cool. I quite like the implementation of that. It just makes it look more like a test bench rather than a couple that I've seen that have just got like push buttons on there. So yeah, it's really good. The only negative things that I would say is obviously the screw that's down here. Oh, I've just hit the reset button. Is a bit difficult to actually do. And then just thinking about the way and order in which you're actually going to go and install things. Obviously the fact that it's risen quite high off the actual top of the actual test bench as well is really good. It just helps a little bit with sort of ventilation and just to make things possibly a little bit easier to actually access. But like I said, I felt like I had to give it a bit of support in order to install like the graphics card, etc. But apart from that, I mean, obviously the actual test bench itself is quite a number of years old now. It doesn't have any real water cooling support, although potentially you could obviously leave a radiator, an all-in-one or something like that, just to one side. You know, that is potentially possible. But apart from that, I think it's an excellent bit of kit, and for the money that's coming in on the Scan website at the moment, you know, if you're into or have a need for a test bench, it's definitely one of the best ones that I've actually looked at myself personally. So we hope you like the unboxing and overview of the Cooler Master test bench. Massive thank you again to Scan for sending this out to us for this unboxing and review, and we'll look forward to seeing you in our next video. We hoped you liked our video review. If you did, then please leave a like, as well as any comments or questions you may have down below. Full details and specifications on this item can be found at our website, NismoTech.com, along with all the links for purchasing if you wish. Also on our site you'll find our latest reviews and current giveaways, plus a lot more. We look forward to seeing you in our next review.